This year, horror films have really been dominated by horror comedies. And if it's not a horror comedy, usually it's a horror drama or a gothic love story or something mixed with the horror. There definitely has been some really good strictly horror movies this year, but none that have gotten 5 stars from me. The closest horror movie to do that is It Follows, but there was one scene in it that I just didn't like. But maybe the Hallow can change all of that this year. Maybe this could be my first 5-star strictly horror film this year. Alright, so I saw The Hallow, not to be confused with The Deathly Hallows, or to be confused with The Hallow. I'm not going to plan on seeing this movie, so please don't see it either. That looks terrible, and you'll hopefully don't get confused by this one. Go to H-A-L-L-O-W, not H-O-L-L-W. But The Hallow is a really basic, really good premise, and often cliched premise, but it's about a family that has moved into a new house. They've been there for a couple months, but they're pretty much living in the woods, and the husband is there to research this sort of disease that has been happening on these trees. Now, I believe this is set in Ireland, because I don't think it's Scotland, I think it's Ireland. But the villagers, they're really superstitious about these woods. They call it the Hallow, and there's these creatures, they say, that live in the woods, so don't go in the woods, don't trespass, they won't trespass upon you. But of course it's the husband's job to go into this woods, find these trees that are sort of plagued by this parasitic disease, and of course eventually all hell breaks loose. So fairies and baby snatchers and changelings all become very apparently real. And pretty much 2/3 of the movie all takes place in one night, and they have to stay together to survive, keep their baby safe, as creatures are trying to steal it. Yes, a very simple premise, typical horror, but it's something that is really great. And just look at that frickin' cover. Just look at it. It looks like cover of some heavy metal band that dabbles in horror genre. Now, I think to some people, the cover will probably be the best thing about this movie. It's got some pretty low scores, actually, from audience. Like, it's got some really average scores. But then that could be because only 2,451 people have seen it. But quite frankly, I really enjoyed this film. It had a sort of Guillermo del Toro mix to it because it's a horror fantasy. But to be honest, there's actually a really neat scientific twist to the whole ordeal. And it is pretty refreshing, and I think this is this guy's first movie. Yeah, Corin Hardy, this is his first film, and it looks like he's scheduled to direct the hell? There's going to be a Crow movie in 2016, I wonder if that's just rumor or if that's true, but if it's true, he's directing it. Unless it's a totally different The Crow movie, but that's the only thing I can imagine it being. Even though the film does have a slower, more suspenseful, more atmospheric style to it, it does have a quicker pace than most movies of that type. Because after all, this movie takes place in the course of 2 days. We don't get to see the family in the uneventful nights and months that they've been living in this house. No, it gets right to the point where we start seeing the movie as the creepy stuff start happening to them. So don't go into this thinking it's going to be slow paced like Paranormal Activity, which is really good still, by the way. No, shit does start happening really soon. Like I said, 2/3 of the movie is the final night where everything starts going wrong. I definitely thought the acting was really good. I really cared about the characters, even though it was more subtle in the fact of developing the characters rather than going all out and being really dramatic. It was definitely a nice balance of getting full character development versus no character development at all. Let's face it, this is a film about a family that's trying to keep their baby survived, and if you can't feel for when a baby is frickin' in danger, then how are you gonna feel for a character at all in a movie? There is easily some really great practical effects throughout this movie. Nothing felt off, nothing felt unrealistic. It felt real, it felt there, it felt really great. Now the film isn't as badass as the trailer would make you feel like it is. Like everyone is saying that it's a Straw Dogs meets Pan's Labyrinth. I never really got that feeling of Straw Dogs. I got more of the feeling of Pan's Labyrinth, though not quite Pan's Labyrinth. So don't get me wrong there. Pan's Labyrinth is definitely a way, way better film. I'm just trying to explain what it felt more like when it comes to people comparing this movie. There is really great, genuine scares, great suspense, great atmosphere. It is a creepy movie. And to be honest, even though this has a simple premise that you like, okay, this is probably going to happen, and this is probably going to happen, then it's going to do this, I found it a lot more unpredictable than I would have imagined. Like when I saw the trailer of this film, I thought, okay, this is how the whole movie is going to play out. But then about 2/3 of the way in the movie, something else happens, and I thought, oh my god, this is going to go like this way now instead. But then the whole thing twists around by the end, and I was really shocked at how the whole movie ended. It definitely brings in a lot of great elements from other horror movies and other classic movies, while still having a nice spin and an original take on it. Like there are several moments in this movie that remind me of The Shining, Pan's Labyrinth. There's even one scene that sort of reminded me of the original Terminator. Now, even though I really love this film, and there's very few things that I can say bad about it, there are two little things, one thing that didn't bug me but could bug a bunch of other people, and one little detail that, even though it doesn't ruin the movie at all for me, it's sort of disappointing in a little bit of the sense. One of the things that might keep you from being scared and really creeped out, it didn't bug me, like I said, but if you've played The Last of Us, then you might not find this movie scary at all. Please go check this out, try it for yourself, but if you're not scared of The Last of Us, you're probably not going to be scared of this movie at all, because there's an element of The Last of Us that is integrated into this movie that I won't spoil, but I'm sure you can guess by just me saying The Last of Us. And the one little thing that did bug me a bit, that I feel that it's not movie breaking, it's not going to ever harm all the love that I have for this film, but at the same time it is a little, oh, okay, it's like an eye-rolling moment. The movie ends with a cheap, lame jump scare that didn't need to be done at all. That's the only nitpicky thing I can say about this film is that. But even with that tiny nitpicky thing at the end of the film, I still have to decide 5 stars for the Hallow. Yeah, this is not going to be a horror movie for everyone. Some people are going to find this really boring, probably. Some people aren't going to like it. They're going to think it's way too cliched. But for me, I really enjoyed it because I'm a big horror movie fan. So, have you seen The Hallow? What did you think about it? Go ahead and comment. If not, what is your favorite horror movie? As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.